Episode 1.
Introduction to Ray and Bonnie, talking about our life and career.
The Raybons have toured the world with their very clever and very unusual act, and they played with most of the big names you'd care to mention. We're pleased to have them on the show tonight. Would you please welcome the Raybons?
Now, I think, Ray, that there's been a definite thread throughout our lives that's brought us together along this path. And we both had a sort of feeling for entertainment or that type of thing when we were young.
Yes, we did, and we had a work ethic when we were that young too.
Yes, we did.
I used to go and early age collecting manure and selling it for 3p a sugar bag. How about that? Saturday night, yeah, I should have been an entrepreneur.
You should have been a millionaire by now, or by the time I met you anyway.
And Saturday nights I would sell the Clarion newspaper. I used to go around the streets calling out, Clarion, Clarion, at the top of my voice. And I never stopped till I sold all my papers and end up coming home in the dark on short winter days. And the blackberry season saw all of us kids picking blackberries till we filled up the kerosene tins IXL had supplied us with. You picked blackberries too, didn't you?
We certainly did, and I think we used to add a little bit of water to them to gain the weight a bit more.
Oh, yes, and the tin got that heavy. We would struggle back to the depot, no cars in them days, and have them weighed, and we would be paid in cash in the hand in those days. That was great.
My word, didn't take long to spend it, though, probably 2 shillings or 3 shillings. And most of ours went to Millie Evans' sweet shop right on the corner there.
That's right.
But it was good times. And we used to pick blackberries later on in our life when we became a couple and went out blackberrying.
Yes, but only for our own use.
Oh, yes,
This
of course.
wasn't commercial.
No, it wasn't a commercial.
Anyway, I also worked in a chemist 5 days a week before and after high school, unpacking crates, bottling his own brand of cough lotion and hand lotions and balms. He had all sorts of things going, and sticking in the corks, then licking the labels and putting them into the bottles. The best and sweetest job was weighing and packing the Guild Chemist jelly beans. You can imagine what happened there.
How many of those did you lick?
Quite a lot.
I bet. I bet you did. Probably that's why you still like the jelly beans.
Oh,
Although I remember the last time you bought them, you weren't too happy about them at all.
No, they're
They
different
gave you
now.
indigestion.
They're not as good as they were back in those days.
Well, I didn't go to work at that young age, but I did do a lot of work on my grandfather's farm, and we used to have a ton of fun out there, jumping off trucks and burning tussocks and all kinds of things.
Yes, I heard you had a great time out on the
was
farm,
good,
being a
yeah.
real farm girl, eh?
Oh, I was, eh? Country girl. But then, what happened then?
My first recollection of a budding show business career started when my sister and cousins and I were singing Christmas carols in Lithgow for what I thought were old pensioners in our street. At the time, they were probably in their 50s. And at the conclusion of our performance, I said, well, that's it. Where's our money? And I promptly got a dressing down from my Auntie Louie. Maybe that's why I still do the little low-paying jobs now, trying to make amends for doing those sort of things.
Yes, well, I think that when I was at school, I probably deep down, I really wanted to perform, although I was very, very nervous. But I loved to sing and I loved to dance. And I remember when Mum first sent us to dance school, my sister and I, Marge, I was absolutely wrapped in it, but Marjorie hated it. So she made us jump the fence.
What?
Well, we climbed the fence.
I just shot through from dancing.
We did. And what happened then? We got expelled.
Oh, what?
Never allowed back in the place again. Who knows? I could have been a top dancer, a ballerina or anything. Who knows?
Oh, well, when I started to court you, I remember you singing at different events, concerts and
I did.
ambulance cadet socials, and I was wrapped in you then. Anyway, my first recollection, was I had a cousin Bill who studied banjo, and when he moved from Burwood Public School to Lithgow Public School, or Coolwell Public School where we were, he was asked by our teacher to take his banjo to each classroom to perform to all the students. Well, Bill had to play the banjo by reading music, and busting to get into show business without the aid of or possession of any talent, I seized the opportunity to break into show business by not only carrying his music stand from room to room, but while he was performing, with a nod of his head, I had the important task of turning the music over to the next page. I was hooked. I was in showbiz.
You were in showbiz. Well, I can remember my first day at school, I was asked to sing in your sweet little Alice blue gown. Wow. My dad was a singer, a very popular singer.
I actually saw him sing.
Sang absolutely beautifully, Galway Bay and songs like that.
I saw him do the Sheik of Araby.
Yes,
he was all dressed up as an Arab.
Yeah, and I remember watching him and thinking, well, I could never do that. But there you go. You really don't know what's going to be ahead of you, do you?
No. Well, my next big break, it came in 6th class, or Year 6 that is now known. Our teacher, Mr. Fitzell, entrusted me to stand out in front of the class while he had to leave the room. My enthusiasm as being asked to monitor the class with their reading was conceived as my big chance to entertain the class with a rendition of The Billy Goat Was Blind, to tune of Ghost Riders in the Sky. It went like this. The night was dark and stormy, and the billy goat was blind. He ran into a barbed wire fence and scratched his never mind. And the applause was deafening. All the kids were applauding, so I was bowing. And the next minute I heard this loud clapping coming from the window over on my left-hand side. And outside was Mr. Fitzell clapping along with the boys and girls in the room. And he said to me with a booming voice, "That was great, Northey. Now wait there till I get into the room." And he came in. 4 of the cuts I got, the best 4 cuts I've ever had in school. And I learnt that show business, there was pain and agony.
He didn't like your singing.
No, is that what it was?
Well, I joined the choir when I was at school because I loved to sing, as you know. And Mr. Nichols used to come around and he'd get right up close to you and he'd put his ear near your mouth and he'd go, "Sing up, sing up." And so I love singing that, and I had the lead parts in quite a few performances with the choir. And Marjorie and I went to Sydney to the Eisteddfod to sing a duet. I can't remember whether we ever got anywhere with that, but Marjorie sang an alto and I was a soprano. But it was lovely. It was quite good, except I got seasick on the way over to Manly. And I haven't been changed ever since. I always get seasick. My friend and I, Bev King, she lived over the back of me, we had an old gramophone, a wind-up one that you always played the old records on. And we had a little cubby house down the back, and my word, did that get a bit of a workout. We used to sing all the old songs and it was good fun, really good fun. She became a teacher, and I lost track of her, of course, after we moved.
She became a headmistress, actually.
Well, she did, actually. Yeah, she was a headmistress. And I always tried out the school plays, not always successfully, but I kept trying. And then I joined the marching girls because I love to dress up and get involved in things like that.
I remember your marching girl days because I got conned into taking you. We were courting then, and I got conned into driving you to some of the events. We went to Mudgee and St Mary's.
Yes, in your old car with the window that wouldn't go up.
Yes, right.
It was freezing, absolutely freezing.
And you were in them little shorty skirts that marching girls wore.
Yeah. But it was good fun, and look, we did have a lot of time in Lithgow where we had great times. There was always something to do, always clubs to join and people to be involved with lots and lots of fun things.
Yes, a country town like Lithgow, any country town in fact, is a great place for kids to grow up because you've got plenty of sport and you got plenty of activities to keep you occupied.
Well, how many sports did you play?
I played basketball, rugby league. I represented the school in rugby league and basketball. I played hockey, tennis, table tennis, whatever sport was going, baseball even. I even played baseball.
I remember a few of those things too.
And I was your coach at basketball.
Well, I was just going to say that, I learned, I was a tennis player, cricket. I used to play cricket with my brother. He was a very good cricketer. I played netball and international rules basketball, and that's where I met up with you.
That's where we fell in love.
No, not exactly, but because you were very hard. You were a very hard teacher.
I used to make us run around
My
the track.
word, you
Half-mile
were.
track,
Yep.
kept us fit.
But one night at the dance, the nursing cadets used to have a dance with the ambulance cadet boys. And one night you very cheekily came and asked me to dance.
I did.
And guess what you said?
Do you want me to say it?
Why not?
Come on, worm, let's wriggle. But I was lucky that night. I teed it up with all the boys that they would let me have their dance with you. They booked you for dances, but it was me that got the lot. I danced with you every dance that night.
Yes, I know. I thought, my goodness, what's going on here? I'm not very popular. But then he asked me to take me home. He said he'd borrowed his cousin's old car. Well, I didn't realise it was that old, but it sounded like an old tank.
Well, it was a 27 Whippet and it didn't have an exhaust pipe on it.
And I remember my mum, when I got home, remarking about the noise, and I remember I said, oh, that was all right. I came home with Ray Northey, Mum, and she said, oh, okay. So I guess that was probably the start of our courtship there, Ray.
It was.
And Mum loved you because you came around and asked her if you could take me out. But
I did, yes.
you didn't ask me, you asked Mum.
No, I wasn't worried
She
about
loved you, absolutely loved you, yeah. Everybody loved Raymond. Yeah. And then came the mime act, Ray Northey and his Revellers.
It was a great act too.
What fun we had.
Yes, we used to mime to Stan Freberg and Spike Jones and his City Slickers records.
Oh, we did. Shaboom. I mean, I was elected to do the voice of Stella. Well, the part of Stella. I didn't sing it, of course. And, we had a big following.
Yes, we used to do ended up, we got that good, the local club used to come and book us to do shows. They'd come down to the garage, or the booking agent from the club would come down to the garage where I was working. I was doing my time as an apprentice then. And he would say, we want to book your mime act for our club. And I'd say, oh, only if I can do my juggling act. And he'd say, oh, okay. They weren't impressed with the juggling in them days.
Well, juggling is a lot harder than miming, Ray. You must admit that. And I always admire your determination and your discipline and your natural ability. Absolutely incredible what you did and taught yourself to do. But yes, we did have fun. There was 8 of us there. We dressed up. We started out, well, in just ordinary things, whatever we could find. And then we got really classy, didn't we?
That's right.
We had suits that made you look absolutely fantastic. We had proper clothes. We had rock and roll shirts. We had everything.
Yes, every penny we earned, we spent again.
We did, of course. We never earned a penny.
Costumes.
And we had all these fun gadgets with great big bass that we used to try and get in and out the car. And Normie Murdoch.
Only for Normie Murdoch.
He
We
had
wouldn't
all
have had
the-
an act because he had all the sound gear.
He did. We had to keep him in there because that's how it went. But it was a good thing for a lot of the boys that were in the band, and I mean, I was the
Yes.
only girl, but still and all, it was a fun time, and we never got into too much trouble, did we, in those things?
But the first real interest I got in show business, or as being a juggler, I was working in the garage as an apprentice motor mechanic. My heart wasn't really in it, but that's another story. However, George Wallace Sr., one of Australia's top comedians, was touring New South Wales, working theatres, and was having his car serviced at our garage. And the grease monkey, as they were called in those days, although he always referred to himself as the greaseologist. He told him about this kid working in the garage that was always juggling instead of working. Well, I'm not sure that was quite right because I did work. And the service manager came and told me that George Wallace wanted to see me. This was the first time I'd ever met a big radio star. At that time, radio was all we knew. Knew nothing about vaudeville. After juggling a few spanners for him, he invited me to come to the show that night and told me to come backstage and he would introduce me to one of the best jugglers in the world. Well, I did. After meeting Lloyd Nan and having a brief juggling session with him before the show and watching his performance, I became addicted to showbiz and juggling. Although to this day I never ever attained the brilliance of Lloyd, I still managed to ascend to a level of juggling skills that enabled me to pursue a career as a professional juggler, and Lloyd admits that some of my tricks were beyond his capabilities. Getting back to when I started juggling Lithgow, I was doing, all shows were free shows that I was doing. I was working in different church halls, and for my primary school, my former primary school, Frolic, I was asked to do a show there. So it was a huge hall. It was used for 50-50 dance on a Saturday night and basketball through the week, and it had a very slippery floor. It was called the Rec, but it was actually the Recreation Hall, but that's what we called it in those days, the Rec. Anyway, with this performance, I dropped a few things. I'm not feeling that good about myself on the way home, and I had to walk home on a dark path that the corrugated iron fence on one side of the sports ground and on the other side a steep embankment down into Farmers Creek on the other. I had my props in an overnight bag that could not be zipped up because the tennis rackets and the solid wooden Indian club handles were sticking out the top. Actually, my grandmother gave me the Indian club. She used to twirl them in her school days. I decided to take the large rubber-coloured ball out of the props bag and spin it on my finger as I was walking home. I was successful the first couple of times, however, because of the poor light and only having one hand free, the left hand was carrying the props bag, I fumbled the ball and it spun off my finger, bounced off the fence, back across the path in front of me, down the embankment and into Farmers Creek. The water, although only shin deep, used to run very fast because through Lithgow they had made a cement canal with 5 feet walls on either side. The thought of losing one of my main props had me racing the 100 metres along the path till I come to the footbridge over the creek. A gas pipe ran beside the bridge, so after being able to make out the shape of the ball coming towards me in the gloom, I hung from the pipe with my feet above the water, waiting to try and pick up the ball with my feet. I managed to trap the ball with my feet, but I found out that I could not get the ball into my hands without letting go of the pipe. So I had to drop into the icy cold water, it was frosty cold winter's night then, to retrieve the ball. While squelching my way home with wet feet, socks and trouser legs, I managed to chuckle as being such a dill and relieved to see that nobody had seen what had happened.
Ah, that's when you needed an assistant.
That's right.
I don't think I would have jumped in that cold water for you, though.
Oh, I was desperate. I didn't want to buy another big ball. Anyway, somebody saw me at the Frolic and asked me to perform at the Methodist Church concert. Had a great show that night, and I started doing little performances for free, mind you, all around Lithgow.
You've always been very generous giving away your talent.
And money.
And money, my jolly word.